Hello there, friends, and welcome once again to Photoshop for the Scientist. Great to have you here. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at how to create an animation inside Photoshop. And to show you what I mean by that, I've gone ahead and created this one ahead of time. And this is the example we'll be working with today of just a protein coming into a little receptor here and a couple of other little protein interactions on the bottom here. So if I click play, you can see you have the docking in and then the two proteins coming together with some lightning effects there. And I'll rewind and show you that again because it goes pretty quickly. And so you might be wondering why you would do something like this in Photoshop when it might be easier to do in PowerPoint. And frankly, I think it would be easier to do in PowerPoint. And I would probably normally use PowerPoint for something like this. But the benefits of Photoshop, obviously you have all of the image and photo editing capabilities here. And Photoshop also allows you to export your animation directly into a video or even an animated GIF, which I don't think PowerPoint lets you do that. At least when I was trying to make a video before, back in the day, it couldn't be done. So this might be one example, one instance where Photoshop would be the better choice. So with that, let's get into it. So I have this starting image here, and if you go to the timeline window, which if you don't see it, you can go up to Window and down to Timeline. When you're creating an animation, you can use two different options, so either a frame animation or a video timeline. Frame animation, I think, goes back to earlier versions. I don't think video timeline was introduced until later versions. I know it's definitely not in CS3, but for the purposes of today's video, it's what I'm going to use because I find it a little more intuitive than frame animation. So if you go ahead and click video timeline, I'm going to expand this a little bit. Basically what this does, by default it creates a 5-second animation, and it just lists all of your layers here that you have in your layers panel. And so the basic workflow is that you're going to work through each layer individually, making the changes that you want and saving them throughout the course of the animation. So if we start with the ligand here, which is this green protein, if we go down to the ligand layer and click this little twirly arrow, first we're going to be modifying its position. And that falls under transform. So right now we like where it's at, and we can start making the changes by clicking this little stopwatch here, and you can see it drops this keyframe, and essentially all we need to do is drag the slider to roughly where we want to have it dock. So let's say 1 second in, and then we just click and drag to where we want it. There, looks good, and you can see that it automatically generates another keyframe there. And so say we want this ligand to be docked for maybe about another 1.5 seconds. And because we haven't made any changes to the transformation, we have to go in and add a keyframe manually. So you go and you click this little keyframe button right here, and you can see it added in. And now we want it to move away. So first we need to set where we want it to go. So let's go up to 4 seconds. And then we just click and drag it up here, and you can see another keyframe is automatically added, and then it'll just sit there for the rest of the animation. Actually, let's not have it sit there. I think let's have it disappear. So that falls under opacity, which seems obvious enough. So again, if we just click the stopwatch here to set the first keyframe, and then if we bring it to the end, because that's when we want it to disappear by, we set the opacity to 0, and you can see another keyframe is automatically generated. And so I think that probably does it for that ligand. We can rewind it back and hit play to see if everything makes sense. Yep, you see it dock there and hang out for a bit, and then just go up a little and then disappear. So that works nicely. So let's troll this closed before we accidentally delete anything. And the next thing I want to do is look at this red protein. So I'm going to rewind it back, and so what I want the red to come and attached to the intercellular part of this receptor here, right after the ligand docks. So if we look here, I think this is when I want my red protein to start moving. So I need, here it is, red protein. So again, it's the exact same thing. I'm going to click the stopwatch to set my first keyframe, and I want it to come in pretty quickly. So I'll set my time marker here and move it up like that, and you can see the keyframe is automatically generated. And then let's see what we want here. Maybe after the ligand moves away, we'll want our red protein here to stop moving. So we'll set another keyframe because we don't want the position to move quite yet. But then maybe we'll say about here it will start to scoot off to the bottom. So let's rewind that back and do a test again. Okay, that looks pretty good. I mean, it moves away pretty slowly, but I'm happy enough with that. And so lastly, we want this purple guy to come in, and this is the one that gets activated with that light effect. So if we go to find the purple protein, here we are. Again, we're going to rewind until, let's say, I probably want the purple guy to come in around here. So I'll set my first keyframe. And then again we'll have him come in pretty quickly. Scoot him up like that. And so the next thing we want to do is have that outer glow effect, and that's going to come in under style. So again, it's going to be the same idea, the same process. We'll set our first keyframe here because we're starting off with no animation. But say we want it to glow over the course of about, I don't know, let's say half a second. And we would just go ahead and set this up in our layers panel, adding a layer effect. So I've gone ahead, well, I'll double click and show you. So I've gone in my layer style box here. Actually, I'll cancel out. So I should show you, even though this falls off the screen. I'm going to this FX icon, and I'll choose outer glow, which is second from the bottom. And so that'll bring up this dialog box, and you can see the preview here. And this is just a matter, I mean, you can set it to whatever you like. I just kind of tinkered around finding settings that seem to look nice. So I've gone with linear dodge and set the glow to white here. But you can set it up however you like. The main thing is that we've done this change now and it's been saved in this keyframe. And so let's say we have the activation, and then we can even turn it off once the red protein moves away. Actually, yeah. So again, we'll set that keyframe to lock in the same change, and then we can go over here and turn it off. So let's rewind and have a look. So that comes in, red protein, purple protein comes in, starts glowing, and then slowly deactivates. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So in the interest of time here, probably leave it at that because you know, you could spend ages making tiny little changes to everything and moving things around. I'm just going to scoot this down again and maybe rewind one more time and take another look at it before we export. Yeah, that looks great. So say you've gone and you've created your little animation and you're happy with it. The next thing you'll probably want to do is export it either as a video or as a GIF. Now, to export it as a GIF, it's kind of a weird backwards way, but you want to use export save for web, which I'm worried that at some point Adobe is going to cut this because it is a legacy feature now. But for the time being, I'll show you if my computer, well, I'll probably just cut out this slow motion in post. Yeah, that took forever. So you can see you've got a couple of options here, if you can see on the screen. You have looping options, so if you wanted to go through once, you got to make sure that it's set to GIF, because if you choose any of these other options, that's not going to do you any good. So yeah, the main thing we want to look at here is looping options once. I mean, you're probably not going to run forever, and then you can click play if you want to have a quick preview of it. My computer gets a little confused and slows things down a bit, but let's stop it. And then it's just a matter of clicking save, which you can't see because it's off the bottom of the screen here. But that would be how you create the animated GIF. So I'm going to cancel out of that because I'm more interested in exporting it as a video right now. And to do that, you want to go to this little drop-down menu here, which when I click is going to fall off the screen. But you'll just have to believe that I'm going down and clicking the option that says Render Video, which is about 3 from the bottom. So if you click that, it brings up this Render Video dialog box, which is fairly self-explanatory. You've got your file name, you can choose a folder, and it gives you some options here. basically, I don't know, you don't need to go crazy with this. For me personally, I would just look at the presets. You've got sort of Android phones, iPhones, HD. It's fallen off the screen here, but you can choose a preset for YouTube HD, so 720p at 25 frames or 29.97 frames per second. And so that's what I'm going to choose. And I think really you probably don't need to worry about all of these other options here. At least for the purposes of this video, we're just going to go with the defaults. And then when you click render, and this might take my computer a while, so I'm just going to cut it out in post again. And so after it's finished saving out, I'll show you. If we go here, you've got your nice little 5-second video. You can double click and there it is. Oh, isn't that nice? Okay, cool. So with that, I think that covers the basics for creating an animation in Photoshop. And I'll warn you, it can be a little finicky at times. So if you're playing around with it, try not to get frustrated, because I know I did a couple of times. But once you figure out the little ins and outs of it, I think it can be pretty useful. Okay, so I guess we'll wrap it up there for today. And I'll sign off by saying, remember, you worked hard to get that data. So why not work a little harder and animate it? Because, that might be kind of interesting to look at. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and I will see you all next time.